may be poorly documented or difficult to modify. Instructions for compiling the source code and building an executable program may be needed. Files may be missing or corrupted. Accurate configuration information may be needed to configure and run the software on a specific system or with other software. But there are solutions to these problems. The licensee and its attorney must recognize that software is a complex technology and it requires competent and skilled programmers to use source code released from an escrow. The licensee might not employ computer programmers, or if it does, the programmers it employs may not possess the know-how required for the software in question. Source code can be poorly documented. The licensee may need build instructions, configuration information, and other programming documentation in order to make the best use of the source code. However, none of these problems is difficult to overcome. If the licensee, as a beneficiary under an escrow, does not employ qualified computer programmers, it can hire qualified programmers as employees or independent contractors to do the job if there ever is a release of source code from the escrow. Even better, the licensee can team up with other licensees who are in the same predicament to hire and share qualified programmers or to use a legacy support system. It is not impossible to find programmers with the know-how to use the source code. It may even be possible to hire the same programmers who developed the software in the first place, since they may no longer have employment with the defunct licensor. Furthermore, a prudent licensee can and should require that good build instructions, configuration information, and other programming documentation be included in the escrow. The licensor can be expected to make reasonable warranties about these items. These items can be inspected by the licensee or an independent contractor before they are put into escrow, or by the escrow company after they have put in escrow. We call this technical verification. The verification could include compiling the source code, building an executable version of the software, and testing it against the test plan. A couple minutes ago, I mentioned legacy support services. These services are sometimes established by former programmers of the licensor to maintain and support the product if it has been discontinued by the licensor or if the licensor has gone out of business. The license and the escrow agreement, which permits use of the released source code, can and should be written to allow the licensee to take advantage of a legacy service. Other licensees without any escrow or source code rights might not be able to use this legacy service because of intellectual property infringement issues or a hostile trustee in bankruptcy. As mentioned, these problems have practical solutions. Escrows can be done right and can be a significant protection to the licensee. Software escrows are useful because they serve the business interests of both sides of the software licensing transaction. For the licensee, a competently structured and monitored escrow provides insurance by reducing and mitigating the risks and damages associated with the loss of the licensor's support and maintenance of mission-critical software. From the perspective of the licensor, an escrow with a single escrow company with the resources and motivation to protect the escrow source code and materials is much preferable to scattering copies of such source code and materials into the hands of multiple licensees and their programmers who do not have the same resources and motivation to protect the licensor's intellectual property. Thus, an escrow is a long-recognized balance between the legitimate interests of both the licensor and its licensees. Escrows help get deals done by offering a reasonable and safe compromise to these competing interests of the licensor and its licensees. Occasionally, I hear other lawyers express an additional purpose for software escrows. Specifically, they want the prospect of a release of source code to serve as a deterrent to the software licensor prematurely discontinuing support and maintenance of software licensed to their clients. I will leave you to judge if there is merit to this strategy.